Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of Movie Takes, our movie podcast on movies both old and new. I'm your co-host, Daniel McFadden, and this week's episode is the Rob Reiner directed mockumentary This Is Spinal Tap, which shows us exactly what would have happened to the Beatles if Yoko Ono hadn't gotten involved. But to my co-host, James Crow, this movie was
the funniest movie that I never actually laughed at.
And there you go.
Yeah, like I said, directed by Rob Reiner. And it was actually written. The writing credit actually goes to the cast of the movie because the vast majority of the movie was actually ad-libbed.
Yeah, it was. Most of it.
Which gives it a very kind of proto Will Ferrell movie vibe in a way.
Will Ferrell?
Yeah, you have that interplay of all the actors that you only get from ad-libbing. That he always has, and he always shows up in Anchorman and all that kind of stuff.
Don't you mean Judd Apatow? Judd Apatow more than Will Ferrell.
Well, that's that too. But they all have that ad lib thing where like Anchorman, they made an entire second movie out of the alternative takes from the first one, just because they're just in there, just BSing lines just nonstop.
Yeah, I think I watched. Did I watch that? I don't know, but I did see the Anchorman 2 extended cut.
So Daniel, I want to ask you. Yeah. I want to ask you. So this movie is based on a specific. It's a
genre of music.
It's a rock. This movie is a rockumentary mockumentary.
Yeah.
Not sure if I can say that again. And it's based on a very specific genre of documentary that is very kind of time based in a way. But
it is.
So what experiences do you have with this sort of thing? Did you grow up with watching Behind the Music?
I was born in 1991. So
I mean, you never know. Your parents could have had a little TV in your bedroom.
My parents were not MTV parents or VH1 parents. They were not.
Where I grew up, we did not have MTV. They still don't have MTV in the local cable there. When they got VH1, they finally got VH1. I don't know what year it was. It was the late 90s. It was a big controversy.
Controversy?
Yes.
Not a big deal, but it was a controversy.
Because apparently, Rob Thomas was going to corrupt the youth of my hometown.
Rob Thomas.
Oh, yes. The first year, it was basically smooth. The song Smooth the whole time. Rob Thomas and Carlos Santana.
Rob Thomas of Street Corner Symphony? No, wait, that's not.
Matchbox 20.
Same, but they did a song with was it something? How would Rob Thomas corrupt anyone?
I don't know, but that was the whole thing. But
no, this era. I mean, this early '80s stuff. This is.
Yeah.
I will listen to rock music from that era, but I'm by no means an expert on it.
Well, I can't say much for that terrible music of the 80s, but
I like 80s music. I very much like 80s music.
I'm weird. I'm weird though. I like music that is heavily inspired by the 80s, but
Me too. Yeah.
But I dislike
the Killers.
I very much dislike actual 80s music, and especially arena metal, hair metal, all that kind of stuff. It does zero for me.
And what did this movie do for you?
I mean, it was entertaining.
I got the joke. I mean, I get it.
I enjoyed the movie up until a point. I think that point was about 60 minutes into it.
Well, it was 60 for you. It was 30 to 40 for me.
Yeah.
That was when it was okay, moving on.
And I think for me, it was just because overall, the movie, it was very interesting. And I think watching it in the 80s would be just mind blowing. But the movie, it's very incoherent in a lot of ways. Like there is an overarching story. You know,
No, there
you
is. There is.
you
I
were
think there is.
watching, you know, this band slide into irrelevance. You know, that is the overarching story. You know, you have the you know, semi Yoko Ono.
To where they're the opening act for a puppet show.
Yes, yes, yes. And like I said, like I said, that was hilarious.
Oh no, it was. I told them once. I told them 1,000 times to put Spinal Tap before puppet show.
Yes. And like I said, that was hilarious, but it got the same reaction out of me that a really good Sunday comic would you know, just a huh.
That's a bit. Oh, okay. Huh. Okay.
So like it was.
Okay, finish. Never mind. Sorry.
It was funny. It was entertaining, funny, but not funny, which I mean isn't a bad thing. But same with, you know, our last review with Dr. Strangelove. But you know, I had a little bit different expectation of it.
Yeah.
I was expecting, you know, the thing that's the big standout, you know, line from the scene is the amp going up to 11, and you know, you're expecting a little more airplane. Like I think that needs to be like an official meter of satire and parody, like on a scale of like some normal movie to Airplane. Where does it fall?
I don't know if that's fair because this is a very different angle.
Oh yeah, well
I mean, Airplane's like constantly winking at the camera. They're playing Spinal Tap. They're playing it straight.
Oh yeah, and
so
I don't. It's not anything I hold against the movie. It's just a matter of me as a consumer being misinformed, knowing only the highlights of the film going into it.
I didn't even know the highlights of this. Really, I knew that Michael McKean was in it. I knew that Rob Reiner directed it, and that's it. I knew it was a mockumentary about 80s music, and that's it. I'd listened to Michael McKean on the Nerdist podcast in the last couple months, so I had the movie kind of in the back of my head. And so when it popped up on Netflix, I was like, hey, why not?
Well, let me ask you. This is kind of a weird tangent, but hopefully you'll see why I'm asking this. All right, growing up, like I don't know you, I watched a lot of, you know, classic TV. You know, again, we didn't have MTV, so I watched more TV Land than most people probably did.
I watched it too.
Did you ever watch the Monkees? Yeah,
I think I did.
Basically, it's
on Nick at Night at least. I think it was on Nick at Night.
Yeah. So basically, it's a TV show about a band who really, really wants to be the Beatles, but you know, but it actually spawned like a real band that had actual real hits that really toured and still does tour to some like really pathetic degree today.
They had Hey We're the Monkees.
Yes, people say they're monkeying around.
Hey We're the Monkees. Then they did Last Train to Clarksville, right?
I don't know. All of those songs blended together.
Last Train. Hold on.
But
Daydream Believer. They did.
Yeah, I honestly like old pre-artsy Beatles and a lot of like Beach Boys and the Monkees kind of blend together.
Yeah, Last Train to Clarksville, the Monkees, 1967.
But I bring them up because, you know, it's an interesting comparison to me because, you know, you have a, you know, fake band that becomes a legitimate entry into the genre that they're kind of parodying.
Yeah, and those are the best. Those are the best parodies or send-ups is when they're making fun of a genre, but they're also an entry within that genre.
Like so in like the top 3 examples that I know of and think of in that regard are the Monkees, you know, Metalocalypse and Spinal Tap. Where you actually have touring bands, but they spawned out of a TV show.
But yeah, like I mean, with this movie, you get tired of it like after an hour. I got tired of it between 30 and 40 minutes, and which is funny because this movie I believe was originally like a 20-minute short.
Yeah, I believe what happened was they were the writers like Rob Reiner and friends were given like $100,000 or something like that to create or to write the script, and instead of actually writing a script, they used that money to film a 20-minute short, which if I remember reading correctly, included the Stonehenge scene.
Yeah, the Stonehenge scene was
yeah, and that's what they used to pitch the film. And basically said, guys, we're gonna ad-lib the crap out of this movie. This is what you can expect. Give us some money.
But yeah, I feel like this is an idea that's only strong enough to carry itself a half hour at the most.
I think that I have, in watching like The Office, I could watch a TV show about this in bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Like if this was a series, I think that I would really love it. It just, for me, like for you at the 30-minute mark, for me around the 60-minute mark, it just got to be too much. The satire meter or whatever, it got less and less sensitive to the point where some of the jokes, were either not having they weren't as funny as they could have been if they were a little bit, fresher and hadn't been done a little bit before.
Well, the big problem for me is like the big laughs. There's a lot of time between the big laughs, so like the stuff that stands out.
Which I'm fine with, but that kind of awkward time, like comedic timing, really can wear on you, and I think that's where the fatigue comes in. Is like the scene with the amp going up to 11, is. It's so great, and it's the timing between when Rob Reiner asks him, it's like, well, why don't you just make number 10 louder?
And there's that pause, and it's like,
and he's that pause, but
but this one goes up to 11.
Yes, the timing on it is perfect, but
because he's seriously contemplating it, he's giving it thought, but it's like 11.
Yeah, but it relies on you having that sensitivity to that pause. And maybe if we were in 1984 or whatever,
and we contributed to its $4.4 million gross.
Maybe we were there back in the day. And we hadn't been exposed to The Office, and hadn't been exposed to Parks and Rec, and hadn't been exposed to the vast majority of the catalog of several comedians.
Well, I don't know the history of mockumentaries, but I think at this point, this was like maybe an early entry into that genre.
Yeah, so, I don't think it was the first, but it definitely popularized them. And I didn't read too much about it, but I think that the people that some of the people that behind this film have tried to make a career out of it. But yeah, I think that without having been exposed to like I said, The Office and Parks and Rec and all that stuff, this could have been a lot fresher of a film.
Mm-hmm.
And that fatigue would have not set in so rapidly.
Did Rob Reiner direct any episodes of The Office? That'd be hilarious if he did.
I don't know, but this was actually, I believe, his directorial debut.
He did 2 TV movies.
Okay, well, major.
Yeah. But like, okay, we talk about some Rob Reiner. He's also a character in this movie, and if it's a parody of the music of that time, I think it's also supposed to be a parody of documentaries of that time. And this is an example of something you don't see in documentaries these days, is the documentarian actually being a part of the action or being in front of the camera.
Well, you do, that's one thing that like shows up a lot in Vice documentaries and all that kind of stuff. Like you're still there, but you don't have the like independent lens opening, actor walking out.
Hi, I'm Rob Reiner.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Rob Reiner. We all enjoy music, and there is a band that has fallen from grace, and I don't know, but there's definitely it's old, and I think it's not so much as parody of documentaries, but definitely that just prominent, rockumentary, the kind of, ad libs. I think at that point, my understanding is there were just so many of these documentaries about bands coming out that it may have well just been, cut and paste.
Yeah. So okay, we talked about I mentioned the big laughs are few. There's big gaps between the big laughs. What were your biggest chuckles or whatever in
The closest I came to an outright laugh, and this is really, really dumb, but there's a song where he's talking about the duty in his soul. I don't know why that's what got me, but that one gave me a little, almost. And other than that, it's not an outright joke, but there's an offhand comment about how there's been 37 band members.
Oh yeah, that was gonna be it took me like a few seconds to okay, if they keep going through drummers, that means at first I thought it was they've had 35 drummers, but that was excluding the bassist or whatever, and so there's actually 32. They've had 32 drummers.
They've gone through 32 drummers, which we haven't mentioned yet, I don't think, but the drummers keep meeting random demises, which is
they just blow up.
They've had multiple instances of spontaneous human combustion. One of them died in a bizarre gardening accident.
Oh yeah. I love the scene of Rob Reiner interviewing the current drummer while he's taking a bath. I can't remember which character says it, but they're talking about the thing with, I think it was the gardening accident, and one of the characters says is best to leave it unanswered.
Yeah, of course the darkest one is they had at least one, they may have mentioned others, that died through vomit asphyxiation, but it's heavily implied that it wasn't their own vomit.
which from that time period, a lot of musicians are
it's
a rumor to have died from.
Not even that time period, going back to the 60s. I'm sure even before then, but going back to the 60s, I believe it was that's how Jimi Hendrix was rumored to die, stuff like that. So it's an ongoing thing in music, and I can think of a few people even in the last 5-10 years that's happened to. So it's a really, really dark throwaway line in that movie.
Another laugh was the puppet joke, the opening for a puppet show. That got me. I enjoyed that joke.
Yeah, and of course, obviously the Stonehenge whole thing was great. I saw that coming. The second he started sketching something on a napkin, I was like, he's gonna. I didn't necessarily know it was gonna be ridiculously small, but I knew there would be some kind of mistake, and whoever built it was going to hand over the napkin drawing as their excuse for why it was all wrong.
This is it. This is the model.
Yeah. Now, the people that in the band after this came out, there is an actual Spinal Tap band, which we kind of and they have played concerts, like major festival concerts, as recently as like last year. They play like, I think it's like called Glastonbury or something. It just happened again this year.
And it's the actual cast from the movie, right?
It's the actual cast from the movie.
Michael McKean, who you can see now on Better Call Saul.
But this is great. All right. They played this musical festival in the UK. And if you look, like from the viewing area of the concert, you can look to the like left of the stage and you can see Stonehenge.
Really?
Yes. And they played this concert and they played Stonehenge with the mini Stonehenge and the little people dancing around it.
That's awesome. Oh, so this is Billy Crystal's second movie.
Yeah, I didn't notice him for some reason.
You didn't? I like the brief moment with his mind character. It's like I saw his hairdo. I was like, wait a minute, is that Billy Crystal?
It may have just been that like ever since I was like 10 or whatever that movie came out, I've just had this grudge against Billy Crystal for there never being a third sequel to City Slickers. Not because I want it, but just because I can't stand unanswered cliffhangers.
But do you know who else was in this movie?
Who? Oh wait, I do know that the record executive that initially brings up that their album is sexist is Fran Drescher.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. The nanny.
And I felt kind of dirty because I'm sitting here thinking this woman is really hot for being from the 80s. And then I realized it was Fran Drescher who, as the nanny, just
not.
No.
Her voice, anyway.
Yes, but
yeah, it took me a moment. It's like, I think that's the nanny, and then I had to IMDb it. I think so. But yeah, it was her. Billy Crystal and the nanny are in this movie.
So, if you happen to be in the neighborhood of a major music festival in the UK, would you want to go check out Spinal Tap? Would you like to see the miniature Stonehenge?
Maybe. I mean, it's like if it was free, maybe. But I don't like. I wasn't a fan of the music in the movie. I really wasn't. But maybe just to say I did.
I don't know. It would be one of those experiences that would be just like, it could be entertaining and like you said, just to say that you did it. But at the same time, I think it would be kind of sad. I mean, watching any 80s band that still tours and wears this pretty much the same.
Even though it's fake?
Yes.
It's a joke?
Oh, yes. Well,
I mean, it would be a joke now.
Yes.
That would be part of the joke. Like, they're already an old 80s band.
If they embraced it, it would be amazing. They could make a sequel right now. They
could.
And where they are parodying all of these like comeback and final tours where there's like 10 of them. You know, they could do it and make a new Spinal Tap mockumentary.
Making fun of Rolling Stones, The Who, Paul McCartney.
I honestly think it would be amazing. I think it would be better than this movie.
I think it would too, but only because me and you have grown up with that these old bands that are still going after all these years.
Every person that was a teenager in the 80s that eventually watched this film would want to go see it.
I would probably go see it. I don't know if I'd watch the original though. I really don't. I mean, it's a one-time viewing thing. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
I really think it is. But outside of those things I've mentioned, there really aren't. I can't think of any mockumentary movies of note. Can you? Off the top of my head?
I mean, I know that I've seen them. Like, honestly, but the thing is, like, I don't necessarily think that you have to have a fake element to have the same, be influenced by this film.
Yeah.
Like I've seen plenty of movies that have a very similar kind of vibe. Have you ever watched? It's on Netflix. There's a movie called The Queen of Versailles.
No.
Okay, so the gist of it is, it's like this woman and her husband, who's like the owner of the like this huge timeshare company, decide they're going to build the like largest house in the world that they call Versailles. And in the middle of there's these people making a documentary about it. They're just there to make a documentary about that. And in the middle of it, his company basically goes under. So it's watching like one of the richest families in the world like lose everything. And it has a very, very similar vibe to it, to like this movie, even though it's completely legit and real.
But yeah, just movie-wise, I haven't seen. I don't think there's been a mockumentary released in. Oh wait, I'm stupid. Bruno and Sacha Baron Cohen's movies. I completely forgot about Borat.
Yeah.
Bruno. I totally forgot about those. There's those.
But to me, they're so absurd that I don't even classify them as like documentary, mockumentary, anything like that. They just feel like movies with like a kind of cinema verite style. But like brings up like kind of a point where like in this film there was some absurd stuff. It wasn't constant. We talked about the airplane stuff before, but there was some absurdity. And I just wonder, for you, like what stands out in this film as far as absurd things that either were too much or it felt out of place or what have you?
Besides the Stonehenge thing.
The Stonehenge thing worked for me. It didn't feel too absurd. But
I think that's about. I mean, I feel like. I mean, I think we've talked about them already. All of the really absurd stuff. The drummer's dying.
Yeah, I think that was probably the main one. It was too much. Like not.
I don't think it was too much. They did it. They kind of undersold it. They didn't, and they only brought it back here and there. They never tried to like beat your head over. Hey guys, the drummer's dying. So
I think they walked a line, and it was subtle to a degree, but I did like that at the very end of it, like the drummer, there's this kind of a quick shot of the drummer combusting, and then there's another drummer.
Yeah, they don't even mention it.
What did you think of the semi Yoko Ono kind of subplot in it?
Well, it made sense because with their flashbacks to their early stages of the career, where they were literally the Beatles, from the straight hair, the suit and tie, to the psychedelic hippie stage, and so it made sense. They would go into the Yoko Ono stage.
Honestly, I'm sure there is stuff that I'm completely missing in this movie because I'm just not into this genre. I just don't know enough about it. But in a lot of ways, I felt like this movie was more a parody of like the Beatles type music. Those personalities that it was of rock and roll from the 80s.
No, like I said, like in the opening, this is what this movie is saying. This is what the Beatles would have become by the early 80s if they had stuck together.
Since we're kind of wrapping things up, one thing I wanted to kind of try is us whatever the movie we've seen, recommend a movie based on that. Not necessarily the same thing, not exactly another documentary or anything like that, but something that you could watch this and watch that. And
I have no idea. I really don't. I don't know. I really don't know of any mockumentary movies outside of this.
What about just like
Cohen movies?
What about just not necessarily mockumentaries, but just like what about like
go watch the first 4 seasons of The Office and then Parks and Rec. That's really that's
just watch Parks and Rec.
Or or just watch Parks and Rec.
For me, like the movie I want to recommend is this is a real story with a real artist, but very direct parallel. And that is it's a movie called The Carter. It's a documentary about Lil Wayne. It's one of those. They started out filming one of those like kind of puff documentaries that you use to promote, like to hype new albums. And this was filmed while he was recording I think it was the Carter 3. And basically he stopped participating in the documentary about halfway through. So the documentary crew just kind of said, okay, we're still going to make a documentary. We're just not going to make the one you wanted us to. So they made like a very like realistic portrait of what this guy is like, including like showing him, smoking weed and just absolutely downing bottle after bottle of cough syrup. But at the same time showing he has this super amazing work ethic where he's just constantly recording and constantly just trying stuff out. But on the other hand, because of who he is and who his family is and all that kind of stuff, he doesn't have a single person around him that will say, don't do that. Don't do that. That's not very good. Those lines you just recorded are really terrible. Lil Wayne, Carter, whatever your actual name is, you can't play the guitar. Please don't do that in public.
Lil Wayne, he's wheezy, right? Or whatever. I don't know.
I'm a terrible rap fan. I'm not. I think so, but there could be other rappers that go. I don't know. I like rap, but not. I don't listen to Lil Wayne. Specifically. Not that I had a good issue with him. Like I said, watching the documentary gave me an appreciation for him as an artist that I didn't have before. But like I said, there's a really good parallel between this fake movie, this fake documentary, and that real documentary, and watching someone not necessarily go through a decline, but showing them as a person in decline in a way.
Yeah.
But being honest and showing their personality in a very similar way to, I feel like you kind of get to know the musicians in this film, fake as they may be.
Okay, my recommendation would be for music documentary would be 20 Feet from Stardom. Have you heard of it?
No, tell me about it.
It was, I believe it won the Oscar for Best Documentary last year. But it's about backup singers to like famous bands, like The Who, I think The Who, Rolling Stones. It's like the 60s and 70s of backup singers. So you get to find out like.
So basically, it's about the Pips instead of the Gladys Knights.
Huh?
I believe it's like Gladys Knight and the Pips. I don't know. Never mind. I'm just making it.
No, but like in the Rolling Stone song "Give Me Shelter."
I think so.
And the woman that's singing in that song, well, you get to hear about her backstory. It's just a really good documentary about I think her life and her. I mean, it talks about multiple people, but the only part I really remember is her part, and she's the woman who's saying backup vocals on Rolling Stones' "Give Me Shelter." And there's one really awesome moment where you see her sitting in a recording studio today as a old woman, late middle age years, and she's sitting there listening to herself sing "Give Me Shelter" from 40 years ago. It's a really, really haunting moment in that documentary, and it's called 20 Feet from Stardom, and you should watch it.
Cool. I will put that on the list like right after I know that voice, which I keep meaning to watch in a very similar.
I think I know what you're talking about. I know that.
Yeah, it's the voice actor documentary. So cool. So, any last final thoughts?
Spinal Shelter. It's okay. Watch it once, but
Cool.
it could have been shorter, I guess.
How about segment it into like 30-second or 30-minute portions?
Yeah.
Give it a couple of days in between. Pretend you're watching a really, really short NBC comedy.
Or a PBS comedy. I don't know.
They're not British enough.
Okay.
Cool. So I guess I think that wraps it up. If you want to contact us, hit us up on Twitter. It's at Movie Takes Pod. Our Facebook is Facebook/Movie Takes, and our email is movieTakesPodcast@gmail.com.
And I'm on Twitter at Daniel McFadden, all one word, and my last name is McFadin.
Yeah, and in case you missed that, his name will be in the show notes for the video and the audio podcast. And then my Twitter name is @Krosky. And
he won't respond to you.
No. Please, send me messages and stuff so I have a reason to look at this window over here on my second monitor as a feed. It's been going for years, and I don't pay attention to it anymore. But if I get messages, I will pay attention because there will be noises. I will have icons with little badges on them, and those annoy me. So I will be forced to use Twitter again. So add me, message me, do whatever.
And if you want to keep listening, we'll have a little extra segment where we talk about I guess the summer movies to date and what we're looking forward to, I guess, maybe.
Or something.
So yeah, keep listening if you want.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll see you probably in an outtake or something on Tuesday. And the full episode will come out hopefully next Friday. And we will announce on Facebook what that movie will be.
We can say it right. We can say it now, right? We're watching Snatch. Snatch is the next movie we're reviewing.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. We were watching Snatch. I really love heist movies. I got to pick it this time, so that's what we're doing.
I let Crow pick. Yeah, we're watching the Jason Statham, Brad Pitt movie Snatch from, I believe, the year 2000. So.
Cool.
Well, I'm Daniel.
I'm James. See you later.